What styles did you study?
Well, over the years, I've done a bunch of different styles with a bunch of different people. Um, in the beginning, like I was telling you, with all the different stuff that was going on, I don't know what I started studying with, in all honesty. But when I got into the Marine Corps, I started doing some Tang Sudo. Some of the people who were training us, I know that they were Taekwondo, and from what I recall, they would say it was karate. What it was exactly, I don't recall, honestly, because there was so many different people that we were all training with.
Yeah.
But the strongest base that I recall was Tang Sudo, and then when I got back into the States, and out of the Corps, I started studying in Jiu-Jitsu under Robert Crossan, the Shuguru Jiu-Jitsu system. And then, of course, I trained under a bunch of other people along the way, other masters, senior masters, and grandmasters, all within the Jiu-Jitsu system. Actually, before that, I'd forgotten. When I got back from the Corps, I started training in Hwarangdo for a little bit with another master that I had met along the way through a friend. I did that for maybe 5 months. So I can't say that was like so I did some training. I did, and there was always a lot of cross training.
Right.
And then as a bouncer, when I started meeting all my other friends and other martial arts contemporaries, we all kind of put stuff in together. Hey, Glenn, how do you do this for jiu-jitsu? And what do you call this? And how do you do that? And how does this work? And Glenn, here, move your hip this way, put your heel out more, extend your hip, push your hip forward, from other guys from Taekwondo and Shotokan, my two other buddies.
Gotcha.
But jiu-jitsu is my base across the board. And when I showed up to jiu-jitsu, I already had some good legs. So I was already a bit of a kicker before I got there, because jiu-jitsu, although people learn how to kick in jiu-jitsu, it's not their strongest point, and it was still a strong point for me.
Right, because there's a lot of throwing in jiu-jitsu, right?
A lot of throwing and breaks, chokes, locks, sweeps.
Okay.
And I used all of it as a bouncer. I'll tell you that right now.
We're gonna get into that too. Now, being that you were in the Marine Corps, what was a day of training like?
Well, as a Marine, on a regular basis, I was with a combat unit, although while I was in, I never saw combat. I was in during the 80s and kind of missed a bunch of stuff. Although when I was in boot camp, our senior drill instructor comes out of his his DI hatch, and he's like, "We're all going to war. We're going to war. You're all going to war. You're all going to fucking war." And we're sitting there, cleaning our weapons. Like, what? He's got the papers in his hands, and he's talking. He starts reading it, talking about the USS New Jersey is firing, rounds 26 miles, 26 miles out to sea, is firing rounds into Beirut, the size of Volkswagens. We're all sitting there with our mouths open, like, holy shit, I guess we're going to war. Like, this is what we signed up for.
And none of this is happening.
Well, I mean, it actually happened, but we didn't. My units didn't have any part in that. I was in a combat unit that never saw combat while I was in the service. All we did was train for it. Right. But as far as training was concerned, we ran all the time. I mean, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of push-ups and jumping jacks, everything cardio. We 3 days a week we did minimum amount of exercises. We'd run 3 miles, push-ups, jumping jacks, sit-ups, pull-ups. I mean, you name it. We just a whole barrage of physical conditioning.
Right.
And that was 3 days a week, plus whatever else anybody else was doing on their own. I did a lot of running when I was in the Corps. I did a lot of martial arts training and stuff. And it wasn't every day for me like that. But when I started meeting different groups of people, if I wasn't hanging out with my regular, my buddies from my units, or doing whatever else we were doing for fun and hanging out, when we were separated, I'd go do the martial arts training with this guy or that guy. They're teaching me how to kick and this and this and the stances and all the very basic stuff to get you stronger and stronger. But also as a Marine, while we're doing our training out in the field, I was a communications guy. So my pack was always heavier than everybody else's. So while I'm traveling with the grunts, and I was the lead communications guy for the CO, the commanding officer of, I was with Alpha Company, 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines I was his communications guy. Every hill, every rock, every every mud pit, everything that they went through, I went through with them, but with a heavier pack. So
Yeah.
a lot heavier pack. We're not talking about like, oh, his is 6 pounds heavier. No, 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 no. Mine is 40 pounds heavier. Mine is 50 pounds heavier. So it was, I was definitely in great shape.
My brother had one of those packs. I remember going to see him out there, and I just lifted it. I was like, What are they doing to you, man?"
Yeah.
Like,
And carry that for a week.
like he was carrying it like it was nothing.
Yeah,
It's
they
crazy.
train you for this stuff. And I was 187 pounds.
Wow.
My best friend carried the similar pack to mine, and he was 135 pounds. The pack was heavier than he was practically, literally.
And you go everywhere with that,
And we
right?
go everywhere.
That's crazy.
Where the grunts go, we go. We were their combo. We were their
Yeah.
comrades.
Now, when it comes to bouncing, what was your most memorable experience bouncing?
That's a loaded question. That's a loaded.
Yeah, I know. There's
I
hundreds.
mean, what was funny? Well, I'll tell you this. While bouncing, most bouncers, if they don't have a sense of humor, by the time they're done bouncing as a career or a couple years or whatever, they obtain one, because all we do is snap on each other
Yeah.
all night long. Whenever we can, especially in the beginning of the night before everybody's there, it's constant jokes. And, some drunk will say something to us or whatever.
Yeah.
And uh, normally what we do is, I mean, you're going to laugh at this. We're supposed to be stopping them from doing this. We wind up egging them on because it's hilarious. Like, look, tell this guy to knock it off.
Hmm.
A good friend of mine, Sterling, we're at the Limelight one night. I wasn't even working. I happened to go by to see some friends. I was off that night, and I go hang out with my buddy Sterling.
Hmm.
We're at the front door of the Limelight, and he walks this guy out, this little white guy. Sterling is a hulking black dude in great physical condition, and this little white guy, he goes, "All right, guys, just pay attention. Spider-Man here is out for the night." So we all start laughing, because we call everybody different things. He's like, "Well, why is this guy Spider-Man?" He goes, "You kidding me? He's in there climbing the goddamn walls." I literally pulled him off of one of the walls and dragged him out. So we're all laughing about it, and this guy's still trying to get in. He's drunk or on drugs. He was on drugs of some sort.
Oh,
Anyway, my buddy Sterling throws this guy out. He calls him Spider-Man, and we're all laughing. Why are you calling him Spider-Man? He's climbing the goddamn walls. I literally yanked him off the walls. So we're all laughing about it, and this guy's he's desperate to get back in and start dancing or climbing walls or whatever the hell it is he's going to do. And instead of like helping my buddy Sterling, like usher this guy up the block, I'm like, "Hey man, you don't have to listen to him. You should go back inside. Go right ahead." So Sterling's like, "Glenn, knock it off." But we're all jokers, Like, "Glenn,
yeah.
come on, knock it off. This guy's gonna be a pain in my ass for the next 3 hours." So for the next 3 hours, this guy keeps trying to run in past the door. And of course, no one else is helping Sterling stop him. So we're all laughing while Sterling's pulling, dragging this guy half his size back out. And he's so messed up that he
Yeah.
doesn't even realize that Sterling's in charge. He's the boss, and he keeps trying to run in. So I don't have one single night that's better than any other.
Yeah.
um, i've got I've literally got 1,000 nights and 1,000 stories of hanging out with friends and enjoying what we did for a living, literally really enjoying our job.
Yeah.
And considering that I mean, that's just the camaraderie that we all had, but considering bouncing, um, we would get into some huge brawl with 5 or 10 people, all kinds of stuff that happens. There's 3 of us and we fought, 12 guys or whatever the numerics were. Or we've got 17 guys on and we fought 50, and this stuff really happens. You're running back and forth and stuff. And once it's all over with, once everything's done and we've thrown everybody out and all of our adrenaline has calmed down a little bit, and we're talking to each other, we start literally going, "Oh man, did you see this? Did you see this?"
Hmm.
My buddy Patty, not a martial artist, but he was one of the top guys working for Peter Gation at Palladium, Tunnel, Limelight, and Club USA. Um, Patty Patty was in. We were in this big brawl. We were doing like Spanish rock and roll,
Hmm.
and we're inside the Palladium. This huge brawl breaks out, and who remembers why?
Yeah.
And I look over, and Patty grabs one guy, and there was an elevator like a working elevator, not for like people up and down, for, you know, like equipment. Patty grabs this guy and slams him into this, I don't know, like little corridor, if you will. I mean, we're talking about, you know, 2 feet, 3 feet that
Right.
was there. He slams him into it. Then he grabs the other guy and slams him into it. And then he takes his shoulder and slams his shoulder in the two guys. And we're like, and I'm like, Patty, you okay? Because he's doing something funny with his hands, and I don't understand what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of this massive brawl, massive brawl, he throws the two guys in there, and he's shouldering them in there so they can't move. And he goes, "Yeah, I jammed my thumb." So in the middle of this huge brawl, he's trying to unjam his thumb while holding two guys in
Oh
against
God.
the elevator. Um,
Jesus.
Shootings, you know, we've been shot at. One of my guys, Ook, and I, we were in the Bronx one time, and now this isn't a fun night, but and it's a really long story, so I'll just cut it down. The promoter's friend, who he kept coming towards the front door where we had all the money, and I was getting real antsy about the guy. I was, you know, just had a bad feeling. The
Mm-hmm.
promoter kept telling, and I was working directly for the promoter. He kept telling me, no, Glenn, it's okay. He's my buddy. We're up at the New Savoy in the Bronx. There's a police station literally like a block up. We can see the police station from where we're at. So this guy, the whole time, he keeps trying to hang out there. And I keep telling, look, man, I don't care what the promoter says. Marvin, do me a favor, go inside and have a good time. Stop standing here near the fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
So we go on and on and on. What happens? It's like, you know, 3:30, 3:45, all exits are final. The guy and as he's getting ready to go out, we tell him, look, all exits are final. All this in and out stuff is done for the night. If you leave, it's over. The guy leaves and he tries to come back in. So me and Ook go like, no. That's it. I hear Ook's like voice getting a little loud. I roll over to where Ook was at and was like, listen, we told you, do me a favor, go home, enough bullshit, take it on the arches. The guy goes up the block, maybe 15, 20 feet. He turns around and pulls out a machine gun. I swear to you, he pulls out a machine gun. Ook and I are like, oh shit. So I'm pushing Ook, and I'm pushing him to get in front of me, like he's in front of me. And the walkway to get in was like a very small ramp, and I slipped. And as I'm slipping, I go right into a flying roll and throw my body through the doorway into a flying roll. I then right into a back roll. I'm on one side of the door and Ook is on the other. The moment my legs come inside the doorway, we hear, and that was just the first time he did it. It was a crazy night.
Did he catch you?
I mean, huh? No.
Okay,
No. I did not get shot. I did not get shot. And then some other stuff wound up happening, and the cops came, and it was crazy. And stuff like that happened. Not every night, not all the time, but it happened often enough that I've got more than one story about gunfire. You know, bouncers getting shot or shot at, you know, people coming back with knives or something that looks like a knife or a gun, and they're like halfway up the block, and these guys are coming up like they got a gun in their hand.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's how people really get hurt bad one way, especially if they don't have something on them, you know, and you think they do.
Yep. And you just got to be prepared for it. So.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So there's no one night that's just special in my mind. I mean, there's 100 nights with some of the closest friends I've ever had, you know, protecting one another and all kinds of other craziness.
Now let's go into the next question. How has martial arts changed your life?
It gave me a career. I mean, let's be realistic. If I was just a strong guy with a big heart or whatever, you know, I wasn't a huge guy when I was 210 pounds working in nightclubs, and I'm sure I could fight, but you know, it was the martial arts that put me over the top.
Right.
In defending myself. Most of these bouncers were, you know, twice my size. Some of them, you know, practically 3 times my size. I just did a film shoot the other night with 2 of my guys. One of them, big house.
I've seen that, by the way.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah. A big house is 6'7", you know, 475 pounds, and he was much heavier at one point. And the other guy is 7'4".
Yeah, that dude is huge.
Yeah, almost 400. And the guy in the photo, that's my son Mason. He's like 5'7". You know?
Oh, that's your son, the one that was in between them.
Yeah, that's my son Mason. Okay. That's our son Mason. Yeah.
Got you. But martial arts, how does it
Martial,
change your life? Sorry,
it
I
changed.
know
I'm
I
sorry.
just
Yeah,
talked at
I
you
got a
like
little changed.
that. I'm
Um,
sorry.
the martial arts changed my life because it gave me a career. I was able to work as a bouncer, as a I taught martial arts for a living. I was a bouncer. I was a bodyguard because I was doing all this hip hop stuff, all the hip hop and all the Caribbean stuff, um, and that was what I really delved into when I was working the nightclubs.
Right.
Um, and I stood out for a bunch of reasons. One is why I wasn't as big as a lot of these monsters. I was one of the only white guys around. We had a couple of us, but there wasn't a lot. The bulk of the bouncers back then were black guys,
Hmm.
Spanish guys as well. But there were very few white guys, and I wasn't one of the big white guys. I was one of the smaller, average size guys, and I could handle myself. Martial arts gave me a career.
Yep.
I turned it into from a nightclub bouncer to owning a security company, employing nightclub bouncers, doing special events, red carpet events, working for Puffy, bodyguarding 50 Cent. Um, you know, it gave me an edge that a lot of people may not have. You can be big and not know how to fight. I'm sure you've had or 100 other people we've seen that a big guy, he's big and he may be physically intimidating, and he might be, you might see him in a fight in the street, or when we're growing up, he's swinging that arm, but all he's doing is swinging an arm. We were
Does
fighting.
doesn't mean he could fight.
It doesn't mean he can fight. You were a Golden Gloves boxer. You know
Yep.
how to fight. You know how to defend yourself and whoever you're with. Me
Yep.
being in the martial arts gave me a career.